The Galactic Council had seen many species rise and fall. When Earth finally arrived on the galactic stage, no one took it seriously. Human ships were small, their technology outdated, and their tactics, if any, looked like old war stories. The Council laughed behind closed doors. To them, Earth was just another desperate race hoping to survive in a galaxy ruled by giants. In the center of Council space, a great hall of crystal and light buzzed with voices from hundreds of worlds. Delegates from powerful empires discussed war strategies, trade agreements, and border tensions. When Earth's ambassador finally stood to speak, a low murmur passed through the chamber. Earth offers its fleet to assist, the human said. His voice was calm, even polite. Some delegates chuckled. Others didn't bother hiding their smirks. One elder from the Tolari Empire leaned back in his chair and whispered to his assistant, "Let them send their fishing boats. The stars will sink them." The vote was passed. Earth would be allowed to patrol Sector 9N, empty, quiet space, far from real danger. It was a joke assignment, but the humans accepted it without question. That puzzled a few council members. No protest. Complaint, just a nod and silence. On board the Terran ship Vanguard, Commander Alira Cole stood before her crew. Her voice echoed in the tight chamber. "They gave us Sector 9, she said, her expression unreadable. "They think it's punishment. Let's turn it into training." The crew nodded, quietly. Determined Darth had learned long ago that power wasn't always in numbers. It was in adaptation, in speed, in changing the game when the rules didn't work. They didn't talk about it much in council meetings, but back on Earth, in deep bunkers and dark labs, scientists and strategists had watched the galaxy for years. While others followed rules made thousands of years ago, humans had created something different, something flexible. In Sector 9, Terran ships moved in silence. They trained, drilled, and tested new systems. They used old satellites as cover, and built hidden relay networks. When alien scouts passed by, they saw nothing, just quiet metal floating in forgotten space. But one day, a signal came through. A small Zoran scout ship had slipped into nearby territory. It wasn't supposed to be there. The Zoran were a known threat, aggressive, fast, and unpredictable. The Council avoided them when possible. But this ship had crossed into Terran patrol space. Commander Elira looked at the blinking alert. No orders from the Council, no support. Just her ship and a decision to make. She didn't wait. Silent approach. No warnings, she said. Let's see how they react when the underdog bites first. The Vanguard moved like a shadow. Its systems were quiet but sharp. The Zoran ship didn't even know it was being hunted until the moment it lost power. In the council chambers, a report arrived. The Zoran scout had been intercepted. Not by a battle group. Not by an empire. By one Terran ship. No casualties. No noise. Just a quiet, clean takedown. There was silence in the chamber that day. Back on Earth, a technician, watching the council feed, smirked. "They don't get it," he said. "They're playing chess. We're rewriting the board." And somewhere deep in space, in the shadows of forgotten sectors, Terran ships continued to move. Quiet, calm, ready, because Earth never planned to follow the galaxy's rules. They had their own. The stars looked peaceful, but peace in the galaxy was a fragile mask. Deep inside the Council's core systems, leaders from many alien races tried to make sense of one strange new variable. Earth. The humans had arrived with quiet steps, old ships, and polite words. No one feared them, no one respected them, but something was changing, and those paying attention could feel it. It started with whispers. Reports from fringe systems mentioned unusual activity. Terran patrols, moving faster than expected, showing up where they weren't assigned, finishing tasks without being asked. Small things, easy to ignore. But the pattern grew. The Tolari, known for their deep intelligence networks, noticed first. Their high strategists sent an observer to monitor the humans more closely. The observer was not a soldier, but a specialist. Trained in studying new civilizations, his name was Varen. He was quiet, cautious, and confident that humans would reveal their secrets quickly. He arrived aboard the Terran vessel Horizon, disguised as a diplomatic guest. The humans welcomed him with warmth and curious smiles. Too curious, he made note of everything: how their command crew worked as equals, how their systems were labeled in dozens of languages, how their ship ran programs far more advanced than what the Council believed Earth could produce. In his private logs, Varen wrote, "They use technology in strange ways. They modify and combine things other races would never allow. Their artificial systems learn rapidly. Nothing about their ship is standard. Still, he thought he could understand them." That was his mistake. On the fourth day aboard the Horizon, Varen noticed something he couldn't explain. The ship's AI responded not just to commands but to behavior. It adapted to stress in the crew, changed the lighting in rooms automatically, and even shifted the tone of messages based on emotion. When he asked about it, the humans simply smiled. "It learns like we do," one officer said. "And it never stops." Varen sent encrypted messages back to the Council. Earth has developed adaptive tech far beyond what they share publicly. They're hiding their real abilities. The Council didn't believe him. "They're humans," came the reply. "They still measure space in kilometers." But Varen saw more. During a surprise training drill, the Horizon split into two parts, literally detaching its outer hull and creating a decoy ship. The real command module slipped away without detection. It wasn't even listed in the official design. No one should have had such modular tech, especially not Earth. He confronted Commander Sora, the human in charge. "You're not following Council protocols," Varen said. Sora looked at him calmly. "No," she replied. "We're following results." That night, Varen tried to secretly leave the ship. He feared the humans were hiding something deeper, something beyond even his predictions. But before he could access an escape pod, Sora was waiting for him at the airlock. "You've seen enough to be curious," she said, "but not enough to understand." Varen froze. "Are you threatening me?" "No," she replied. "I'm inviting you to watch what comes next." He stayed. From that moment, Varen wasn't just an observer. He was a witness. Over the next few days, the Horizon responded to a distress signal in an abandoned sector. A mining ship from a minor council race had gone silent. The area was believed to be empty. The council had marked it a safe dot, but when the Horizon arrived, it found a hidden facility non-council, unknown design. Inside were systems scanning old council routes, collecting data. Someone had been watching from the shadows, and someone had made sure no one else would find it. The Terrans moved swiftly. No blasters, no battles. Just code, silence, and shadows. The facility's systems went dark within minutes. When the council finally received the report, the site had already been erased. Varen sent one final message back. "They don't think like us, they don't act like us, and they definitely don't play by any rules we understand." Back aboard the Horizon, the crew continued their work. Professional, focused out in the observation deck. Sora looked out at the stars and spoke to no one in particular. "They gave us a place in the back. That's fine, because we like building." In silence, "They gave us rules. That's fine too, because we never planned to follow them." Space had been tense for weeks. Small warnings, strange signals, broken transmissions, they all pointed to something moving just beyond known space. The council believed it was nothing, just background noise. A failed probe, a ghost signal. But on Earth, deep within Terran Intelligence Command, someone had been watching more closely. A soft ping echoed in a dark room filled with glowing screens. The AI monitoring the fringe systems paused. Then, in a calm voice, it spoke two words. "They're here." At first it was just a shadow and unknown ship that didn't respond to any council frequencies. It passed through a restricted zone and vanished. Then another appeared. Then three. The Terrans watched as these ships moved with purpose, slipping through cracks in council patrol routes. The Zoran had returned. Years ago, the council had signed a ceasefire with the Zoran, a fast-growing, unpredictable species known for sudden strikes and disappearing without warning. The treaty was thin, fragile, built on fear, not trust. Now, without any message, without any official act, the Zoran were moving again, but the council hesitated. It always did. They wanted to gather data, confirm facts. Earth did not wait. Aboard the Terran stealth ship Obsidian, Commander Wren stood in front of his crew. "We don't have orders," he said, "and we don't need them." The Obsidian was different from other ships. It had no bright colors, no signal lights. Its entire body was wrapped in sensor-absorbing armor. It didn't just move quietly, it vanished. Every part of it was designed to be unseen. When the Zoran scout ships passed through the old mining corridors, Obsidian was already there. The humans had mapped the dead tunnels, planted sensors, and even modified gravity pockets to slow enemy movement. None of it was standard. None of it was allowed by council rules, but humans weren't following rules anymore. Inside one of the Zoran vessels, the pilot saw nothing ahead. Then, without warning, his systems collapsed. Artificial fog filled the ship's sensors, AI scripts failed, and the lights flickered out. Before he could react, the ship spun off, course and powered down completely. Terran forces didn't attack in waves. They didn't use warnings. They acted like hunters, quiet, fast, and precise. The first battle lasted 92 seconds. Only one Zoran ship survived, drifting back toward its fleet with half its systems broken. It never even saw what hit it. When the council received the report, their analysts were confused. "This doesn't make sense." One said no Terran ship was even registered in that area. But the proof was their recorded messages, wreckage, flight paths. Someone had responded, and it wasn't a mistake. Council leaders called an emergency meeting. Earth moved without approval, one delegate said. They took unauthorized action. But another delegate, older and quieter, simply said, they stopped the Zoran in hidden chambers on Earth. Terran strategists shared data with their commanders. The Zoran weren't just testing council space. They were mapping it, preparing for a full return. The council still argued, still debated. So Earth acted again. This time Terran ships didn't just wait in the dark. They sent messages, encrypted, direct to other fringe colonies. "Evacuate now," the message said. "We will handle what's coming." And they did. Terran fleets moved in non-linear paths, using gravity fields and dark matter flows to travel routes the council didn't even monitor. Their ships dropped sensor beacons, AI drones, and environmental traps in empty space. They weren't preparing for battle the way the Council had taught. They were building a net. When the Zoran launched their first official strike, they expected weak defenses, slow response, and the usual hesitation. Instead, they found their path jammed, their weapons disrupted, and their systems mirrored used against them. Within an hour, the Zoran fleet broke into smaller groups, trying to escape. But every direction they ran, Terran ships were already waiting, silent, patient. Later, when Council observers arrived to investigate, they found only quiet stars and drifting pieces of Zoran hulls. The fight had already ended. Back aboard Obsidian, Commander Wren received a message from Earth's. It had no title, no praise, just a line of text. You weren't told to go, you weren't told to stop. You did what was needed. Proceed. In the Council chambers, the debate continued. But in space, something had shifted. The galaxy was watching, and Earth was already moving again. The Council hall stood silent, filled with beings from over 100 star systems. But for the first time in centuries, no one was speaking. The last report had shaken them. It was not the Zoran fleet's defeat that disturbed them, it was how it happened. Earth had done the unthinkable. Again, and they had done it without permission. The delegate from the Irvani Alliance slowly stood. His voice was calm, but his eyes held worry. Earth moved before we acted. They engaged before we even voted, and yet they succeeded. A quiet murmur passed through the chamber. No one had an answer. For centuries, the Galactic Council had worked under one truth: structure equals safety. Plans, meetings, shared knowledge, these were the tools of peace. But Earth had ignored those tools and still delivered results. Fast, quiet, precise. Some called it dangerous. Others called it necessary. The Zoran had pulled back. Not because of fear, but because they realized the game had changed. Within days, Council ships arrived at the sectors Earth had secured. What they found was strange. There were no command posts, no bases, just odd floating structures, half ship, half machine running independently. Some created light distortions, others bent sensor waves. None of them matched known Terran blueprints. An emergency envoy was formed and sent directly to Earth. The Council wanted answers. They were received at a place Earth called Station Grid Line, floating quietly above a blue gas giant. It wasn't large or fancy. No flags, no guards, just a single dock, and a waiting figure, Ambassador Leyen. She greeted the envoy with a respectful nod, then led them inside. No ceremony, no delay. Just one long hallway lined with displays showing simulations, projections, and data. "Where is your command?" asked the Tolari diplomat. Ambassador Leon smiled. "Command doesn't sit in one place. It adapts. Like everything else we've built." The envoys were shown a series of simulations. Zoran fleet tactics, Terran AI Tosregis, a model of a Zoran scout ship being rerouted through a gravity well, a ship that never even knew it had been redirected. "You used prediction?" one delegate asked. "No," Leon replied. "We used reaction. We trained our systems to adjust faster than theirs could decide." Confusion filled the room. One elder from the Marn Collective leaned forward. "Why didn't you tell the Council?" Leon's tone remained calm. "Because the Council waits. Earth moves." The envoy leader frowned. "What if others fear your unpredictability?" Leon's expression did not change. "Then they should study our history." The meeting ended with no agreement, no threats, but the Council returned home with quiet minds and uncertain hearts. Earth wasn't just acting without permission, it was operating on an entirely different logic. Back at the Council's central data core, something even stranger was discovered. During the Zoran conflict, Earth had run more than 100 operations, but only 7 were visible to Council logs. The rest were ghost missions, unrecorded, undetectable. The data wasn't missing. It had never been shared. The Council debated again. One group argued Earth should be sanctioned. Another suggested inviting them into a higher command role. But the loudest voices couldn't agree on anything except one fact. Earth was no longer the student. Meanwhile, in an asteroid field beyond the edge of mapped space, a small Terran vessel hovered without lights. Inside, 2 officers reviewed long-range scans. One of them, a young systems specialist, looked at the screen. "The Zoran aren't regrouping, they're hiding." The commander nodded. "Because they've never seen anything like us." Far from them, in a dark chamber beneath Earth's own planetary surface, a different conversation took place. The Terran High Council, quiet and strategic, met with no cameras, no recordings, just decisions. "They're afraid of us," one member said. Another smiled. "They should be." "No," replied a third. "They should learn." And then came the final voice, old and calm. "They will in time let them call us unpredictable. We never came here to follow. We came to rewrite what it means to be prepared." In the black sky above, Terran ships moved without fanfare. Silent. Shadows watching, learning. The galaxy still believed in rules. Earth believed in readiness. Asterisk stars blinked over a broken sky. The Council fleets, proud and powerful, once stretched across half the galaxy. Their colors flew on every border world, their warships lined in precise rows, like an ancient ritual. They believed in strategy, structure, and shared decisions. But now, they were scattered. The Zoran had returned in full force. Not scouts, not tests. This was a strike. Sharp, fast, with purpose. 3 council systems fell in a single week. Stations vanished. Messages went unanswered. And the worst part, no one saw the attacks coming. The council's early warning systems had failed. Their defense lines were slow. And now, even their allies had gone silent. The council panicked. The high delegates gathered in emergency chambers. Questions filled the air. Who's still standing? Where's the resistance? Where's the Terran fleet? They had mocked Earth's size. They had dismissed Earth's methods. Now, they searched for its presence, but Earth didn't send messages. Terran ships had already moved without announcement, without permission, deep into the chaos. Their vessels slipped between shadows, reading battle patterns, tracing Zoran formations. They weren't reacting. They were already in position. In the burned remains of a frontier world, a single Terran ship stood in orbit. It wasn't a battleship. It was small, black, and curved in design like it had grown from the void itself. Its name was Spire. Onboard Commander Alex watched silent feeds of broken stations. Her crew didn't ask what came next. They already knew. "We begin," she said quietly. Instead of attacking, the Spire released small drones not for war, but for listening. Thousands of them spread across space, invisible to normal sensors, learning how the Zoran moved, how they chose targets, how they rotated ships. In another sector, a Terran carrier named Pax Edge launched ships in silence. These weren't warships. They were decoys built to look like fleeing transports. The Zoran followed, chased, moved off course, in a single night. 3 enemy fleets were pulled away from their targets and trapped in artificial gravity corridors laid out weeks in advance. Not a single Terran shot had been fired. The Council watched the data roll in. "How are they doing this?" one admiral asked. "How did they know where the Zoran would strike?" No answer came. Earth never explained. On a far-off moon, where communication was nearly dead, a Council outpost was under siege. Their defensive systems had failed, their backup energy drained. The Zoran were closing in. Then a Terran ship entered orbit. Just one dot. It didn't send a hail. It didn't ask permission. It deployed mobile AI towers onto the surface, each one lit with a soft blue pulse. Within minutes, the outpost's systems returned. Shield came online. Power flowed again. One of the alien commanders inside the base asked, "What do they want in return?" The outpost officer simply answered, "They didn't say anything. They just arrived." In that moment, something shifted in the minds of many across the galaxy. Earth wasn't just fighting to win. They were choosing when and how to fight. They weren't acting out of fear or duty. They were playing a different kind of game. Later, aboard the Terran flagship Nadaris, a council envoy was finally granted access. He had begged to speak with anyone on Earth's side. He stood before Admiral Reyes, who sat in a quiet command chamber filled with star maps and live feeds. "You're not asking for help," the envoy said. "You're just acting, without waiting, without asking." Reyes didn't look up from the screen. "Would you prefer we waited for more planets to fall?" The envoy was silent. Reyes continued, "The Zoran don't follow your rules. They don't sign your agreements. But you're still following the same process, step by step. That's the difference between us." The envoy's voice lowered. "And what are you following?" Reyes finally looked at him. "Logic, survival, and the understanding that sometimes order must step aside for speed." Across space, the Zoran found themselves facing battles they couldn't explain. Invisible traps, ships that didn't behave like any they had faced before, misinformation, diversion, movement, and every time they reached for victory, Earth had already stepped around them. In quiet chambers, council leaders debated what this meant. "Earth acts alone," one said. Another replied, "Earth acts with purpose." But the oldest delegate, one who had seen 1,000 rotations of the stars, said something else. "No, Earth acts with preparation. We thought they were unpredictable, but I think they've been planning for this since the day we gave them patrol duty in Sector 9. They all fell silent above a nameless gas world. Dozens of Terran ships floated in perfect formation, no fanfare, no symbols, just steady blue light. And as the stars turned quietly, the galaxy finally understood. Earth hadn't waited for power. They had built it while no one was watching. The galaxy no longer slept. Even in its quietest corners, something had changed. Communications buzzed more urgently, patrols doubled, and whispers moved faster than lights. It wasn't just this anymore, it was the realization that overlooked Earth was no longer in the background. Once, the Council had feared only chaos. Now, they feared something else entirely. Control. The Zoran warfront had collapsed faster than anyone expected. Terran fleets didn't just win, they ended entire campaigns before they could begin. They mapped enemy intent, moved faster than strategy, predicted steps before they happened. And they did it all without asking for permission. From the farthest trade world to the richest council core system, beings were asking the same question. What will Earth do next? Inside the High Council Tower, the atmosphere was tense. Delegates from a dozen empires had gathered. their voices sharp and uncertain. Earth's methods are outside the code, said one. They have no oversight, warned another, but no, one denied the results. 3 major threats had vanished in less than 2 months. Whole sectors once feared as war zones now stood quiet, watched over by Terran satellites and marked and uninvited, yet effective. And still, Earth said nothing. That silence became louder than any message, so the Council sent a final formal request, an invitation to Earth. Return to the table, discuss power, share command, become part of the order. But Earth did not come, not to the meetings, not to the debates, not to the grand halls of protocol. Instead, the response arrived in a different form: data packets sent across every Council relay. Inside, full records of Terran operations, maps of Council vulnerabilities they had quietly corrected, and suggestions, not demands. Each file ended with the same line: we never asked to lead, but we will not follow what no longer works. The Council froze. They had waited too long. Earth hadn't risen by claiming power, it had risen by removing weakness. In the depths of uncharted space, something else stirred. The last Zoran fortress, hidden behind clouds of ion storms and decayed moons, pulsed with energy. Their high command was preparing one final push, desperate, reckless, a fleet large enough to make the Council tremble. But Earth had already found them. On board the Terran vessel Solstice, Admiral Cora reviewed the data stream. They're moving, her officer said. Cora nodded. Then we end it, quietly. No announcement, no declaration. The Terran fleet shifted into position using gravitational tunnels and microfold jumps tech Earth had never shared. Each ship moved alone, yet with perfect timing, like a constellation come to life. Above the Zoran world, clouds swirled, thunder cracked, and then nothing. The Terran ships simply hovered, unmoving, silent. The Zoran, expecting war, sent out drones. They were disabled. They activated shields. Earth bypassed them. They launched ships. Earth rerouted their coordinates. No blasts. No fire, just precision, control, presence. The Zoran surrendered without a word. Later, when Council scouts arrived to confirm the outcome, they found something stranger than ruins. The Terran fleet was already gone. Only beacons remained gently pulsing in the void, broadcasting one message over and over in clean, simple code. It is not about victory. It is about preventing the next war before it starts. Back at Council Center, the oldest delegate, the same one who once said Earth was preparing since Sector 9 stood before the full chamber. We taught them to listen. They listened. We showed them the galaxy. They mapped it in silence. And while we hesitated, they learned how to act without being seen. Another voice added, Earth never broke the rules. They simply stepped outside them. A third said, they never asked for control. They earned it. No vote was held. No agreement signed. But slowly, quietly, the systems of power shifted. New routes were open, managed by Terran networks. New security standards were adopted based on Terran patterns. New protocols were sent written, not in Council words, but Terran simplicity. And still, Earth said nothing. They just worked, watched, protected. In the end, no monument was raised, no flag was planted, but across the galaxy one quiet truth remained. When Earth was ignored, they prepared. When they were tested, they adapted. And when the galaxy failed to lead, they did not take power. They became the standard.